Chapter 17 of Anne Veronica. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Joy Chan. Anne Veronica by H.G. Wells. Chapter the 17th. In Perspective. Part 1. About 4 years and a quarter later, to be exact, it was 4 years and 4 months, Mr. and Mrs. Cape stood side by side upon an old Persian carpet that did duty as a hearthrug in the dining-room of their flat, and surveyed a shining dinner-table set for 4 people, lit by skilfully shaded electric lights, brightened by frequent gleams of silver, and carefully and simply adorned with sweet pea blossom. Capes had altered scarcely at all during the interval, except for a new quality of smartness in the cut of his clothes. But Anne Veronica was nearly half an inch taller. Her face was at once stronger and softer, her neck firmer and rounder, and her carriage definitely more womanly than it had been in the days of her rebellion. She was a woman now to the tips of her fingers. She had said good-bye to her girlhood in the old garden 4 years and a quarter ago. She was dressed in a simple evening gown of soft, creamy silk, with a yoke of dark old embroidery that enhanced the gentle gravity of her style, and her black hair flowed off her open forehead to pass under the control of a simple ribbon of silver. A silver necklace enhanced the dusky beauty of her neck. Both husband and wife affected an unnatural ease of manner for the benefit of the efficient parlour-maid, who was putting the finishing touches to the sideboard arrangements. "It looks all right," said Capes. "I think everything's right," said Anne Veronica, with the roaming eye of a capable but not devoted house-mistress. "I wonder if they will seem altered," she remarked for the 3rd time. "There I can't help," said Capes. He walked through a wide open archway curtained with deep blue curtains into the apartment that served as a reception-room. Anne Veronica, after a last survey of the dinner appointments, followed him, rustling, came to his side by the high brass fender, and touched 2 or 3 ornaments on the mantel above the cheerful fireplace. "It's still a marvel to me that we are to be forgiven," she said, turning. "My charm of manner, I suppose. But indeed he's very human." "Did you tell him of the registry office?" "No, certainly not so emphatically as I did about the play." "It was an inspiration, your speaking to him." "I felt impudent. I believe I am getting impudent. Had not been near the Royal Society since you disgraced me." "What's that?" They both stood listening. It was not the arrival of the guests, but merely the maid moving about in the hall. "Wonderful man," said Anne Veronica, reassured, and stroking his cheek with her finger. Capes made a quick movement as if to bite that aggressive digit, but it withdrew to Anne Veronica's side. "I was really interested in his stuff. I was talking to him before I saw his name on the card beside the row of microscopes. Then, naturally, I went on talking. He has rather a poor opinion of his contemporaries. Of course he had no idea who I was." "But how did you tell him? You've never told me. Wasn't it a little bit of a scene?" "Oh, let me see. I said I hadn't been at the Royal Society soirée for 4 years, and got him to tell me about some of the fresh Mendelian work. He loves the Mendelians because he hates all the big names of the 80s and 90s. Then I think I remarked that science was disgracefully under-endowed, and confessed I'd had to take to more profitable courses. 'The fact of it is,' I said, 'I'm the new playwright, Thomas More. Perhaps you've heard?' Well, you know he had. Fame! Isn't it? 'I've not seen your play, Mr. More,' he said, 'but I'm told it's the most amusing thing in London at the present time. A friend of mine, Ogilvy, I suppose that's Ogilvy and Ogilvy who do so many divorces, Vee, was speaking very highly of it. Very highly.'" He smiled into her eyes. "You are developing far too retentive a memory for praises," said Anne Veronica. "I'm still new to them. But after that it was easy. I told him instantly and shamelessly that the play was going to be worth £10,000. He agreed it was disgraceful. Then I assumed a rather portentous manner to prepare him. How? Show me. I can't be portentous, dear, when you're about. It's my other side of the moon. But I was portentous, I can assure you. My name's not More, Mr. Stanley, I said. That's my pet name. Yes? I think... Yes, I went on in a pleasing blend of the casual and sotto voce. The fact of it is, sir, I happen to be your son-in-law, Capes. I do wish you could come and dine with us some evening. It would make my wife very happy. What did he say? What does anyone say to an invitation to dinner point blank? One tries to collect one's wits. She is constantly thinking of you, I said. And he accepted meekly. Practically. What else could he do? You can't kick up a scene on the spur of the moment in the face of such conflicting values as he had before him. With me behaving as if everything was infinitely matter-of-fact, what could he do? And just then Heaven sent old Manningtree. I didn't tell you before the fortunate intervention of Manningtree, did I? He was looking quite infernally distinguished, with a wide crimson ribbon across him. What is a wide crimson ribbon? Some sort of knight, I suppose. He is a knight. Well, young man, he said, we haven't seen you lately. And something about Bateson and Co. He's frightfully anti-Mendelian, having it all their own way. So I introduced him to my father-in-law like a shot. I think that was decision. Yes, it was Manningtree really secured your father. He... Here they are, said Ann Veronica, as the bell sounded. Part 2. They received the guests in their pretty little hall with genuine effusion. Miss Stanley threw aside a black cloak to reveal a discreet and dignified arrangement of brown silk, and then embraced Ann Veronica with warmth. "So very clear and cold," she said. "I feared we might have a fog." The housemaid's presence acted as a useful restraint. Ann Veronica passed from her aunt to her father, and put her arms about him and kissed his cheek. "Dear old Daddy," she said, and was amazed to find herself shedding tears. She veiled her emotion by taking off his overcoat. "And this is Mr. Capes," she heard her aunt saying. All four people moved a little nervously into the drawing-room, maintaining a sort of fluttered amiability of sound and movement. Mr. Stanley professed a great solicitude to warm his hands. "Quite unusually cold for the time of year," he said. "Everything very nice, I am sure," Miss Stanley murmured to Capes as he steered her to a place upon the little sofa before the fire. Also she made little pussy-like sounds of a reassuring nature. "And let's have a look at you, V," said Mr. Stanley, standing up with a sudden geniality and rubbing his hands together. Ann Veronica, who knew her dress became her, dropped a curtsy to her father's regard. Happily they had no one else to wait for, and it heartened her mightily to think that she had ordered the promptest possible service of the dinner. Capes stood beside Miss Stanley, who was beaming unnaturally, and Mr. Stanley, in his effort to seem at ease, took entire possession of the hearthrug. "You found the flat easily," said Capes in the pause. "The numbers are a little difficult to see in the archway. They ought to put a lamp." Her father declared there had been no difficulty. "Dinner is served, mum," said the efficient parlour-maid in the archway, and the worst was over. "Come, Daddy," said Ann Veronica, following her husband and Miss Stanley, and in the fullness of her heart she gave a friendly squeeze to the parental arm. "Excellent fellow," he answered a little irrelevantly. "I didn't understand, V." "Quite charming apartments," Miss Stanley admired. "Charming. Everything is so pretty and convenient." The dinner was admirable as a dinner. Nothing went wrong, from the golden and excellent clear soup to the delightful iced marrons and cream, and Miss Stanley's praises died away to an appreciative acquiescence. A brisk talk sprang up between Capes and Mr. Stanley, to which the two ladies subordinated themselves intelligently. The burning topic of the Mendelian controversy was approached on one or two occasions, but avoided